No, I ran the imaging scan.
Imaging doesn't always pick up delayed bleeding from concussive injuries.
Picard grapples with a life-altering revelation while the Titan and her crew try to outmaneuver Vadic in a lethal game of nautical cat and mouse. Raffi and Worf uncover a nefarious plot from an enemy Starfleet has long since forgot. Hello, entertainment enthusiasts. This is Ray, and this is the Fandom Realm. And today I am reviewing episode 3 of season 3 of Picard. As always, spoilers abound, so just be aware. And just to recap for last week in episode 2, basically Raffi went looking for the Ferengi that basically had access to the Romulan that was supposed to have stolen some of the equipment. And Worf is introduced as he ends up rescuing her. And of course, the big thing is we learn finally that yes, Jack Crusher is the son of Jean-Luc Picard. And with that, let's take a look at episode 3.
Captain, she's still on us.
All right, so here we go with the opening.
She wanted to destroy us. She could.
Back running from Vadic.
We lost her.
Picard doing some thinking here. And she's gone. Picard realizes that, hey, she's playing strategy here.
To your newborn son.
Nefarious.
And
Oh, he has a son. That's awesome.
I thought I was losing him. My unborn son.
That's sort of emotional right there.
You gotta take care of them at all costs. You'd burn the world to save them.
And thinking about parenthood there, being a father.
I'm sorry, Mzadi. I'll be right there.
Bring the whiskey.
Doing lots of parental type stuff there. And just to point out, this actually would have happened before the opening of the episode, before they met in episode 1.
Still working on repairs. They estimate at least 2 hours before warp will be operational again.
So they're having to fix the ship here.
I'm charged with insubordination and confined to quarters, but thanks.
I like that LaForge is showing some support here.
It'll take me longer to explain to you how everything has changed over the last 20 years than to do it myself.
And that doctor is just being horrible. Talk about the air going out of a room.
Our shore leave on Casparia Prime. The waterfalls.
And how old were they when all this happened?
that I would wonder for years what it was that I had done.
And of course, Picard's upset that he doesn't know about this.
Well, I got pregnant that night.
And Beverly is basically going to make a bunch of excuses.
Why didn't you?
I struggled over telling you. I wanted him to know you, but you to negotiate with the Praetor, and a photon grenade detonates meters from you.
So she's totally blaming Picard for something he can't really do anything about.
If you had told me, it all might have been different. Beverly, you made the choice for me.
And you know, I think that's an important point in this argument.
Never wanted to have a family. That you could never be a father because you were too afraid you'd be like your own.
And here she's throwing a lot more stuff back at him.
I know now I would never have been my father.
It's good for him to realize that at this point.
Was that if you're the son of Jean-Luc Picard, there's a target on your back.
Still, what does that have to do with anything?
I thought I could protect mine.
Battle stations!
That's impossible.
All right, so Vadic has shown up again. Back to the first conversation between Picard and Beverly, and I totally take Jean-Luc's side in this about knowing he could have made so many other decisions possibly, but Beverly took that away from him. So he should be upset about it. And so, you know, we're going into this conversation a little more. And as we come back to the ship, you have a situation where Vadic has found it, and they're trying to figure out how is she finding the ship.
Like I'm the outcome of some science experiment.
I'm sorry to tell you, kid, but you are.
Love this conversation.
The bigger the legend, the more disappointing the reality.
Jack he's actually being sort of guilty here.
Those accusatory stares are contagious.
People have a right to know who.
He didn't really choose what happened here.
The best thing you can do is give them a reason to feel good about it.
And so he's not feeling good about it.
You got family, Riker.
Okay, we hear about his family here.
I have a wife and a daughter. And I had a son.
So what happened to his son? That's pretty big there. And I think that's going to come into play as this episode moves on.
Jack and I help those in need on worlds Starfleet has forgotten.
So they're trying to figure out why Vadic's after them.
I don't think it has anything to do with him. Somehow it has something to do with you.
I know nothing about this Vadic.
So Beverly believes Vadic is trying to get Picard for something.
No bounty hunter ship. That's a warship with Jean-Luc Picard-sized enemies behind it.
Very good point there. I'm glad she pointed that out.
This accent.
He went to school in London, never shook it.
Okay, that question I was asking from the start. Why the heck does he have the accent?
Didn't I deserve a chance?
I'm glad they answered it.
Didn't he deserve a chance?
Yes, he deserved a chance.
He decided not to.
That's bad.
Walk with me, Will.
That just totally broke Picard right there.
I placed the crew of this ship under unnecessary danger.
And now he was realizing something's going on here.
Moments with your kids. You never know what you might regret. God knows.
So does Picard know that Riker's son died?
I owe this ship's captain an apology.
Yeah, I mean, actually you do. You took over his ship.
Command, Captain William Riker Protest. Authorization.
So Captain is injured. Now Riker's going to be captain.
Should.
Torpedo away.
The two working together extremely well.
I think it might be time you called me number one.
And that's a little bit funny there. And so basically they're working together here. Lots going on in this series. They can't figure out why Vadic is being able to follow them. We find out Riker's child was dead, and just a lot going on. Okay, I cut that. I muted that.
I am Worf, son of Moog, House of Martok.
Because of copyrights. And here we get Worf.
Son of Sergei, House of Roshenko, bane to the Duras family.
I love him going through his family.
Slayer of Gowron.
And that he has his human family in there.
Worf, you're a legend.
Of course, Raffi knows him as a legend.
Much as fire. So I have been, as humans say, working on myself.
So he's been working on his anger, trying to work that out.
It's your time to join the dead.
Now she's realizing he helped her.
Obviously right.
Because I thought you would get yourself killed, or nearly so.
Which she almost did.
You have the heart of a warrior.
So he's showing her a lot of respect right here.
I know who paid the Ferengi to lie.
Okay, so that's a start.
By the name of Titus Rick.
He looks like
You and I
good news.
will track this individual.
Okay, I'm glad they're working together here. Raffi and Worf. Love Worf. He was always one of my favorite characters. And so I'm glad to see him back and taking what looks like is going to be a central role in this part of the film or in this part of the series. And along with that, of course, Riker and Picard have escaped from the Vadic again. And they don't know exactly how she's telling them. So we're going to have to figure that out sometime.
No, we should continue to evade until Warp is operational. She's finding us anyway.
So they're starting to argue about things.
I'm open to your input.
Thank you, Captain.
And I'm going to tell you, when that started, this worried me a little bit.
I don't like what I'm seeing here. Shaw, are you having trouble breathing?
So here's just this angry doctor again.
No, I ran the imaging scan.
Imaging doesn't always pick up delayed bleeding from concussive injuries.
Aha, so maybe Beverly does know something.
I'm so sorry, sir. I never meant for any of this to happen.
Again, Jack didn't mean for any of this to happen. And right here, I'll just tell you what the captain said. He asked Jack, find out how they are tracking us.
Suggests it would be unwise to go any deeper.
And so he saw that trail of blood and realized they're being trailed.
Get us outside this nebula is exactly how much time they have to be ready to warp.
So Riker's wanting to get out of that nebula.
Comms, ready an emergency SOS and prepare to go to warp.
And it looks like they're about to get out.
Ready the device.
And here comes Vadic with that device, and we finally get to see what it does.
What the hell is that?
Sir, we're going right through.
And it works like the portal device that we saw earlier. The one that Raffi saw at back destroy the Starfleet base. You got to feel for Picard. There's not much he can do here. He's been very frustrated. He knows Will is frustrated, and he just thinks he's being too conservative, which is saying something for Picard, who seemed like he was ultra conservative of a lot during the Next Generation.
You look conspicuous in that hood.
Says the Klingon in warrior gear.
So they've gone after the bad guy. Love the warrior gear.
Calls.
It is calling.
And they see the bad guy, and he's moving pretty fast away from them. And Worf just chokeslams him. Holy cow.
Beheadings are on Wednesdays.
That, of course, is a response to something else she had said about when he was talking about being control, and she said something about beheadings, especially when he beheaded the Ferengi guy. And so that I thought that was pretty funny.
Water. Come on, oldest trick in the book.
So Jack back talking to Seven.
This is only a
Mass spectrometer. Deuterium.
And leave it up to Seven. She's going to figure it out.
we have a leak.
Allow you to leave.
Yeah, the thing about that is...
Yes, Jack. Go for it, man.
Someone deactivated atmospheric diagnostics. The ship's computer can't detect...
Okay, so it looks like we have a saboteur.
Looks like short-range phaser fire to me.
It's not damage. It's sabotage.
Gotta hate that sabotage.
Someone did this on purpose.
We have a saboteur.
So that's going to change things for them.
If this was sabotage, we can use it to our own advantage.
Of course, Picard and Riker want to do two different things.
You said it earlier. We can no longer risk the lives of
Riker really going back to this, get the crew out of there.
and her crew home.
It just seems uncharacteristic for him a little bit.
Warning. Dangerous level of deuterium exposure. Oxygen required immediately.
Okay, big things here. We're starting to have Picard and Riker go against each other. That's important. And I don't know, Riker seems to me to be a little out of character here, but I think it goes back to him basically, I guess, losing his command of his ship, losing his son. He's feeling lots of emotions as well. And you have Picard, who he, although he's been along for the ride with Picard here, he seems to be blaming him for what's going on.
Pulling off your fingernails.
Okay, so let's torture this guy.
Change with perspective.
Oh my God.
There is no righteous cause.
And just to go back to point out, of course, Jack sees that the bad guy is the changeling. And that's the same guy I mentioned in episode 1 when Riker and Picard were coming on board. He stopped and looked at that guy. we said he was a bad guy. So 7 is going to come in and end up rescuing Jack.
Jack, wake up. Come on, get up. Let's go.
He probably should have been dead if she hadn't come back.
Jack's injured. I'm taking him to sick
So,
bay.
of course, we're going to call Picard here.
Go.
And he's going to head down to sick bay. And I'm going to tell you, this whole scene, I was on the freaking edge of my seat. Just watching Beverly try to save her son. While Picard is standing over them. I mean, I just let out such a deep breath when he took that breath and he was alive. Now, this is all important. This is sort of when they come together. It seems like probably as a family. But, I mean, it was so emotional. That was a great episode. And there was no words really said. I think that's one of the best things about it.
Never about the portal weapon. You just wanted to keep Starfleet spinning.
Okay, so we're learning that it wasn't about that portal.
Tell me, how long have you been away from the Great Link?
And so we see that this guy is a changeling, which, just to go back real quick, with Jack and Beverly and Picard there, that whole relationship, I love that entire scene there.
Will, we cannot run any longer.
And then, of course, Worf figures out that the bad guy is a changeling, and so he's going to sort of know what to do with him.
Instinct to be fearful of loss.
Fearful.
Boy, Riker.
I'm the captain of this ship.
I mean, if you have to tell somebody you're captain,
Sit down, Admiral.
that's bad.
There's a changeling on board.
Just that whole sequence between Picard and Riker makes me feel sick.
We're a powerful enemy of the Federation.
And so here we have
United in
a
purpose.
Worf telling Raffi
Faction
about
broke away, unwilling to accept
the changelings while we're seeing
The Dominion War.
They can look and sound like anyone, any species.
the traitor set a bomb on the Titan.
So big that they would use a portal weapon like that as just a distraction.
So they've got it figured out. It was a distraction.
We should get to Daystrom Station. It may be our only hope for answers.
So of course they have to get to Daystrom now to try to figure out what they actually did steal. That was important.
Sir, Jack was ambushed. He thinks it was a changeling.
So now we're letting Riker know about the changeling.
Sir, we have just had an explosion.
And the saboteur has stricken.
Out of options, Captain. We fight or we die.
I mean, Picard is right. I mean, they've got to fight. I don't know what Riker's problem is here. And how could they have known that Vadic was sitting there waiting for them? Now, I also muted that because of copyright stuff.
We're sinking, Captain. Towards the gravity well.
So this looks really bad.
Remove yourself from the bridge. You've just killed us all.
And just hearing that statement, oh man. And Picard leaving and the lighting and just the way they left this. Oh my gosh, this episode was just crazy good. So with that, I do want to talk about a few things here and give you some thoughts and sort of opinions on a couple things. Now, I said a lot while we were going through, and I probably covered most of what I'm going to say. So I don't want to make this video too awful long. But a couple things here. I want to start with Raffi and Worf. I like them working together. Ever since he went through his name earlier in the episode, I really liked how they sort of bonded to work together. And then his whole explanation of the changelings and what happened, that was very important because there are a lot of people who may not be Deep Space Nine fans who don't know about the Dominion and the changelings, and he was just able to update them and sort of give them that information. I thought that was really well done. Second thing, and this was really big, is just the conversation between Beverly and Picard about whether if Jack, what happened with Jack? Why did she not tell him? And I'm not going to say a lot more than I actually mentioned during the episode, but I mean, that was basically two people sort of backed into their sides and neither one was going to give up. And I'm going to be honest, I'm on Jean-Luc's side. Some people may be on Beverly's side, but you never know how things would have worked out if she would have told him. But she never gave him the opportunity to be a dad and to see what would happen. And she just assumed all these really bad things. And I'm not sure, I really think that is in her sight, but she did mention her losses, and I just want to say how they wrote that line of dialogue I didn't actually like, because I thought she should have said she lost Jack, she lost Wesley, and gone at that. Instead of she said, I think it was she lost her husband, she lost her son Wesley. Picard knows them. She doesn't have to say her husband, her son Wesley. And I thought I was just that little one sentence, not even a sentence, sort of bothered me a little bit. Mostly because how close they were and how much they knew each other. That's probably about the only thing that bothered me in this whole episode. Then, of course, we're going to have the scene with Captain Nash. Of course, he got injured. He is going to give command to Riker. Riker is a captain, so he can take over. And they send him Nash off to try to be saved. And Riker's going to take over. We'll get back to him in a second. But with that, of course, Nash is in the infirmary. Beverly's going to be the hero here because her old school medicine realizes that, hey, this is actually an injury that the scan didn't show. So they're going to be able to save Nash's life. And of course, here's where Nash really points out to Jack that, hey, how are they following us? Something's got to be happening. And they show that trail of blood. So of course, that lets everybody know they're looking for some type of trail. And so he's going to end up with 7 of 9. They figure out there's a saboteur on board. And then that saboteur, the guy we pointed out in episode 1, is going to come in and basically knock Jack out in that gas, so it's going to could kill him. And we actually see Jack, when he hit the saboteur, we saw that he's a changeling as well. So of course that's important, having that changeling on board. And then of course 7 of 9 rescues Jack, gets him to sick bay, and Beverly's going to be working on her own son. This was one of the most emotional things I've ever seen, and there weren't any words between her and Picard, and basically just her keep pushing to shock him, and the looks on their faces. And I'm going to be honest here, people. I wasn't sure when we were introduced to Jack whether he was going to survive the series. And I'm still not 100% sure he will. If you all haven't noticed, this series has a lot of throwbacks to other Star Trek, okay? And this one we're watching right now has a lot of throwback to the Wrath of Khan. And that whole time period also when you had the search for Spock. Picard, like Captain Kirk, has found a son. Kirk's son didn't survive. I really hope Jack does. I think I'll be very disappointed if they kill him off. And of course, really for me, the big thing here is this relationship between Picard and Riker and what's going on there. Now, I think a lot of it is, Riker sort of came along for the ride, and he is hurting. He's in pain. At some point, we do find out he had a son, and then we find out the son had died. And that is also that first episode. He said something about Deanna not really wanting him around right then. And so now we know why, the answer to that question. But he is in pain. He is sort of riding along with Picard on all this. And then we find out Picard has a son. He takes over the ship to try to save them. And then Kid is sort of ungrateful to start with. And They realize it may have been a mistake. The captain gets injured. Riker takes over. And at first, the relationship is okay. And then it just starts to unravel because they realize they both have different ideas about how to get out there. And Riker is just overly obsessed with saving the ship. And I don't understand why they're writing him like this. I know he's got all this probably grief, but, Riker's one, to realize and always had the common sense that sometimes you got to fight your way out. And so I'm sort of surprised they didn't play to that. They sort of reversed what Picard and Riker were like in the Next Generation a little bit. But I'm going to tell you one thing, the acting, oh my God. And Jonathan Frakes, just this episode alone, I mean, he deserves some type of award for this because his acting so far has been superb. Heck, Patrick Stewart has as well. The whole cast has really acted well. With that, of course, last thing, we do get to see Vadic and the ship and that weapon in action, and it's a portal device like what they had got in, like Starfleet had attacked Starfleet, and so I don't know what they're going to do here and how they're going to get out of this. I'm wondering if they actually need to go into that black hole type phenomena, and so I guess we'll see next week, okay? I've already talked too long, guys. I'm going to give this episode a solid A, and I hope everybody enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and of course, comment below, and I'll see you next time on the Fandom Realm.